All right. See participants coming on. Welcome everyone to the September virtual road trip. I'm Pam Brandon. We're excited to get started again after a bit of a summer break, and hard to believe it's fall already, but here we are upon fall. Hi, Heidi. And happy assisted living week to everyone. And a very appropriate connection with the theme this year, which is compassion, community, and caring. And yeah, it just so happened that the topic that we had chosen fits right into that. So we're very excited to share this with you and to share the exciting things going on at AGE-u-cate. And so I see it slowing down a bit with participants. So I would say let's just get started, because we have a lot to share and we want to not shortchange any information that we have. So I will start by saying how excited and honored I am to introduce Laura Ellen Christian, who is the newest member of our leadership team. We are thrilled to have her. She started back in August, so already just making all kinds of not changes, but just a great addition. You know, we're just so excited and thrilled with all your ideas. So welcome, Laura Ellen, to the AGE-u-cate team. And we want to talk a little bit about Laura Ellen's background before we get into all she has to share with us. But Laura Ellen comes from the Arbor Company based in Atlanta, where she resides. So our road trip is actually traveling to Atlanta today. She was Senior Vice President of Engagement and Dementia Training at the Arbor Company. And she had a very long, very rewarding career there. And I think it's very worthy to take this time for you to be able to share with our participants about your career and your journey with the Arbor Company and what it meant to you. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, of course. Hey, everybody. It's great to be with you. As Pam said, I spent 17 years with the Arbor Company, and I really think my career with Arbor is a testament to how much they value their people. So I started as an activity director in a community in Athens, Georgia, that the Arbor Company still manages today. And I'll never forget the interview with the executive director, Pat Zooks, and she asked me a question of how decisions were made in my family. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is a really odd question, and I'm not sure how to answer it. Every family's different, right? But really, as I reflect back, it has really been insight into how my career evolved with the Arbor Company. They became my family, they still are. And that has just been the core of my experience. Arbor culture has always been so strong in inclusiveness and growth. And that really defines what my journey has been with the Arbor Company. Every step, they really valued my skills and my work ethic, and just gave me so many opportunities to grow. So through that, I held many jobs and many responsibilities, but I'm really proud of the support I was able to give Arbor in developing their in-house dementia training, as well as their engagement training for all of the residents. So that's how it began, and it was a great career.
Absolutely. And we started working together in 2018. And Laura Ellen and I began talking, and I think pretty early on in our discussions that we had, when you were considering bringing on our programs, we saw a synergy between our companies, that we could really see that our missions were aligned. You know, we both had a lot of the same vision, for what we felt like, the important things were in just a business partnership, but more than that, in serving the people that we serve in this space. And so I had the privilege then to actually go out and train the leadership team at the Arbor Company, and definitely saw myself that there was a heart there, that was a deep respect for you, Laura Ellen, a respect for the company, and a respect for their peers that was unique, and really it was wonderful. So as you brought on and integrated Dementia Live and Compassionate Touch and Flashback, and we had the opportunity to continue to work with you and your team, I think we just grew a closer and closer partnership, which was led to where we are today, I guess, which was all good. You never know where your journey is going to take you, but look at where it took you. So let's talk about what prompted you to want to make the career change.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So moving on from Arbor was, it was just like a really hard decision. I never thought that I would do that, right? I'd kind of found my little family and found some great success there. But I kind of equated, and as I was sharing with people that decision, I kept going back to the thought of like a child graduating high school or college. So when I started with Arbor, I was 22. So they literally raised me. And in the 17 years that I was there, it was incredible to be able to grow the team that supported dementia training and engagement programming to 6 incredible people. So that's where that team sits today. And I just, over time, right, it wasn't like a one thing. It was just over time, I began just having this extreme feeling of accomplishment and contentment and where I was with the Arbor Company, which really kind of led to, thinking about other opportunities. So I was not looking for a job at all. But I think just through that good support system that I have with Arbor, and then my own personal family, I was able to kind of take what was kind of fear, right? You never want to leave what feels so familiar and that people that you care about so much. That's really scary to do, right? So it's kind of like that feeling of accomplishment and contentment like parents feel when your children reach those milestones. And you probably have that fear as a parent when they do that, but being so grounded in your family helps you turn that into excitement. So that's just kind of where I was. So because of that great support and those great roots that I had with Arbor and the people there, I was really able to take just kind of a leap of faith. So that's where we are today.
And here you are. And we're so excited because we just get to be your next family. I mean, your expanded family here at AGE-u-cate, right? You still have the Arbor Company family, and you just get to grow it bigger. And as we had started, kind of this conversation that probably neither of us felt like, it was actually going to come to this great, relationship that we had, it just happened. I could definitely said many times through your decision making, how bittersweet it was to make the challenge, or the decision, but you have so many ideas, and that's something I just really feel so grateful for in our team, particularly our leadership team, is, the creativity, no boundaries. Let's try something new. Let's go out and, be bold with what we believe in, and listen to providers and listen to the needs of what we are doing in this space, what others are doing in this space. And so you and I really agreed on that when we were talking. And I think that's where you felt like, hey, this was so much opportunity to go to that next step in your career. So we're happy you're here again. So in kind of an entree into what you're going to talk about, I just want to say to our participants that, we've been busy at AGE-u-cate the last couple of years, as many of you have, we know, reevaluating what we're doing, what our mission is, looking at the current challenges that we've all had in the last 18 months, that we never expected to have, but what great opportunities that has also given us. Really refining our current programs, adding to our program mix, and really, I think that's been one of the positive things that has come about from this is, something very unexpected hit us all, and we were able to take that time to really dig deeper. And I think we have to continue to dig deeper, as no matter what area we're serving in this aging space. I think it's important that we're talking to each other, that we have a view of collaboration, because it's so important. There's only so many of us to do work that is really important. And I think collaborating with others is really, really important. So with that, I don't want to go on because you have lots of knowledge, lots of ideas to share with the audience today, and which is why you're here on the AGE-u-cate team. So I'm going to let you take it from here.
That's great. Thank you, Pam.
So I'm going to be in the background and let you talk.
Okay, sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while I'm going to share my screen and just pull up a little presentation while I'm doing that, just want to say thank you so much to all of you. Like Pam said, this week is National Assisted Living Week. So thank you to everybody that serves in that industry that might be on with us. And then we're also about to roll very quickly into Active Aging Week. And so everyone on this call has worked so hard over the last 18 months, 2 years. We lose track of time, but to keep active among all of the challenges that keep coming at us. So active for yourselves, for your families, and definitely for those that you serve. So a big kudos to everybody for all that you're doing. And I hope you are taking time to celebrate yourselves and others around you as these fun weeks come upon us of celebration. So I wanted to move in to talk about foundations for growth and kind of the concept. It's nothing new, but the concept of getting back to basics. So as we are all thinking about what we have accomplished, what we are still accomplishing as the pandemic continues, it's only natural to think that it might be easy. It's kind of going to be easy to get back to basics, or it might be easy to dust off our best practices and bring those back up. But I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm finding it hard to do that. There are a lot of new ideas. There are a lot of things that have been created during the pandemic, new thinking. So sometimes it's hard, right, to kind of wade through that and really think about, okay, how do we get started? And I'm going to share a little insight into why this might be a little harder for us than it might have been pre-pandemic. So I attended a corporate council with the Dementia Action Alliance several months ago. And on that call, one of the members shared about neurological changes that happen in people experiencing long-term trauma, which is what we've all been experiencing, right? This pandemic has gone on for a very long time, a lot longer than any of us thought, and it has been traumatic. So we have all experienced long-term trauma. And when that happens, what we're doing is when you're faced with trauma, right? Let's see if I can move my PowerPoint screen here. Here we go. Okay, sorry about that. When we're faced with trauma, we go into trauma-induced thinking. So that is where we are processing decisions from our amygdala. And so that's the area where our impulses lie. So we are acting on impulses out of necessity. So as leaders, we have all been doing that for the past 2 years. So without even realizing it, we have retrained our brains to think in this way, right? So it might look a little something like this. So when I saw this picture, I was like, yes, that is a picture of sometimes how my brain is functioning, right? Of everything that's coming at you and decisions that you're having to make quickly, whether state regulations are changing or things with your company are changing, or maybe it's something with your children and virtual school. There's just all of these things coming at us for the past 18 months to 2 years. And because it's lasted so long, we still may be sitting in that moment of decision making where we are not using our normal part of the brain that would do that, right? So that would be our executive control center, our executive functioning. So that's this area of the brain, right? So now that we have a little bit more time, maybe, right? And we certainly have a lot more information about what's happening during this time. The thought was on the council that I attended, the conversation was, is we have to step back and think about what has happened and go through the process for ourselves individually of retraining our brain to make good, sound decisions, right? So that's not saying that we haven't been making good, sound decisions in this past 18 months, right? But it's the way that we've been making those decisions where we've had to do them rapid fire, right? And so now thinking about, as we have more time, as we have more information, how can we transition ourselves back to this process that you see on the screen of think about it, plan for it, do it, analyze, right? Think about it, plan, do, analyze. What we were doing before is doing. We're just getting information and doing out of necessity, right? Of what we had to do. So I don't know if this is resonating with you, but when I heard about it, sitting on the council, it really resonated with me because I was in the process of having conversation with leaders about unthawing from the restrictions that we were in. And so as I was having these conversations with leaders, what kept coming up is they could not remember what we were doing before. So as we were trying to think about, well, how did we do this before? You know, what are ways we can start to kind of unthaw from where we were? People were just having a hard time. They were just drawing blanks. So that's where this really resonated with me. And sometimes I was having those conversations and it was new people, right? It was new leaders that were hired like right before the pandemic or during the pandemic. So that made sense, right? They didn't have anything to draw on because this is all they knew. This was the life that they knew. But it was also coming from tenured folks, people that had been in their roles for quite a long time. So that's where the light bulb started going off for me, of this idea of we all kind of need to stop, kind of take some deep breaths and get back to basics, not only for our business and our companies, but for ourselves as well. And if we don't do that, right, then we're going to continue to operate in the way that our brains have adapted of just having rapid fire decision making, which isn't healthy for anyone long term. Okay, so how do we do that, right? How do you start to do that? And what she talked about and what I found is there are two different approaches that adults can take when we want to reset our brain. And so it all stems around self-regulation. So trying to regulate when things are coming. So that taking those small steps can help us kind of move back to this way that might get us a little bit further in what we're trying to accomplish. So you see it scrolling on the screen here, but I'll talk about it kind of individually real quick. The first one is environmental approaches. So how can you change the environment to reduce stress? And I know you might be laughing or you might be rolling your eyes because you're thinking, we're still in the pandemic, the environment is still stressful. But I want you to, again, think about back to basics and that mantra of small, simple things that you can change. You can start changing in your own life, in your own work environment, to try to kind of turn this shift of what might be happening in our own brains. So that might be thinking about where your office is located, right? Thinking about how your office is set up. Are there small tweaks that you can make? Thinking about the environment of just how things flow in your organization or your community. So just think real small, right? One step at a time, building those foundations that we can then continue to grow from. The other one is individual approaches. So this pertains to us as individuals, right? So how can we start to self-regulate when stress pops up or when a decision pops up that we need to implement strategies, right? We don't need to act in the way that we've always been acting, which is information comes to me, I'm making an immediate decision. We need to think about, okay, this information is coming. What are some strategies I can have as an individual to help me take a moment, right? It might be taking some deep breaths. Again, simple strategies that you can think of what's going to help you self-regulate and kind of take that pause and make small little tweaks so that you can try to get back to this cycle that you see, right? Of think about it, plan for it, do it, and then reevaluate. All right. So hopefully that's connecting with you. And it definitely, like I said, connected with me. And we have to do this. I really feel passionate about we have to do this before we can move forward, right? If we don't kind of do some of this deep thinking and taking a pause, and if we try to leap too fast to something new, I'm afraid we're really going to miss some important building blocks that are going to be key to making all of our hard work stick, right? So what are those building blocks, right? What can those building blocks be? So I'm going to share a few with you, but the best strategy for you is to gather your team and take time to do this thinking yourself. And I know a lot of us are thinking we don't have time. Maybe we still have restrictions. We can't get together in person, but we're all creative. We do have the time. We have to take the time to do this. So gather your teams, right? And kind of go through this process of thinking about what have we been doing that's been just impulsive decision-making, right? Some of those decisions were really great. Like I said, I'm not saying that all your decisions over this last 18 months or 2 years have been bad ones. It's just the way that we're doing them. So a lot of your decisions that you made were probably really fantastic ones. Go harness those, right? So go through that process. What have we done that was really great that we want to keep, right? And maybe what are we doing that maybe is still through that process of just like, we're just acting on impulses that we need to try to transition, right, into more of this normal, natural way that we were doing before crisis hit. So jot those down, right? So going through that process with your team then really opens up opportunity for growth mindset, right? And so that is all of the things that you see here. So you can really think about, take constructive feedback, look at challenges, right, as opportunities to grow, look at failure as opportunities to grow, think about new things that you want to do, but stay grounded, right, in not just doing knee-jerk decisions, but really staying grounded of what's going to connect to your business, to your company, to your people. All right. So I hope that's all connecting with you. Please put any questions that you might have in the chat. I would love to answer any questions or any thoughts that you have connected to this. Please put them in the chat. I want this to be a fluid conversation and not just me talking to you. So chat with me if you would like. So back to basics, right? So that's kind of our foundation here of how do we get back to basics to create some foundations for growth. So I'm going to talk about a couple of ideas. I'm also going to talk about lessons learned, right? So like I said, there are a lot of valuable lessons that we have learned and new ways of operating that we have engaged in, and those have been certainly for the better. So we don't want to lose sight of those. But foundations for growth. these are not going to be any rocket science, new things, right, that you're hearing today. And that just goes with what we're talking about, right? It's really helping us recenter ourselves and think about what is most important. And so these two things that I have on the screen is what I feel everybody needs to focus on first, right? So people first. So thinking about our people. And of course, when we think about our people, the first people we think about is those that we're serving, our residents, our elders, people that we're connecting with. So I encourage you to get back to that buzzword of person-centered care. And there are a lot of new words that people are throwing out there that have the same meaning. So pick the one that you like, but person-centered care, right? That is still so important for what we're doing in our industry, even more so now, right? As people, especially our elders, have gone through the pandemic of thinking about how do we reconnect with people, and with so much turnover and so little time to carry out probably quality training. If you were like the Arbor Company, it was kind of, again, crisis mode. So if you weren't doing quality training like you wanted to because you didn't have time or the resources, then think about what did your staff that joined you during the pandemic or right before, what kind of training do they have, right? Do they even know how to deliver person-centered care, right? Sometimes that word kind of just falls into the background and we make a lot of assumptions that people know what that means or they know how to deliver it, but that's not always the case, right? Do your staff know the importance of getting to know your residents as people first, okay? And then thinking about the tag of people first, there's your staff. So a lot of staff in the aging services industry are new and hard to find, right? They continue to be new. We hire and then we rehire and continue to hire. It's just an ongoing challenge in and of itself. So thinking about putting your staff first, right? How are you making good first impressions for the people that are working for your organization, working alongside you, with you? How are you making good first impressions so they want to stay with you and your organization? Are you offering basic training for people who maybe are coming to us that have never worked in this industry? That's happening now more than ever. It's going to have to continue to happen. We've got to get out of the mindset that we're going to hire people with experience, right? We're going to have to hire people that have no experience at all. And so how are you prepared to really offer them some good quality training so you can help them grow, right? They can be part of your foundation to help them grow and to help your organization grow, okay? So people first. So those are some questions, right, that maybe you can ask yourself if you're gathering your team to really think about how you're going to get back to basics. The other one is stronger together, right? We've probably heard that tag connected to a lot of different things over the last couple of years, but what I'm talking about is involving everyone in thinking and decisions, right? So remember what it's like to operate as a true team, okay? So out of necessity, a lot of decisions have been made in silos, right, or in the moment. So the questions are, how can you bring your teams back together so that decision-making feels more inclusive? How can you make sure that the people around the table are diverse, right? Do you have representation? Okay. Think about people that might be working in housekeeping and dining in different departments, or whatever those departments might be for the industry that you're in. How can you bring them to the table? They all have very important perspectives, and we need to make sure that we're being included. They are being included in the conversations that you have. Sometimes, I know we found this a lot at the Arbor Company when we had what we called care coordination meetings, is the person working in housekeeping knew more than the resident care director did about certain residents. The maintenance assistant that's walking around the building and always on the go in and out of residents' apartments and maintaining the campus, sometimes they knew a lot more than the executive director did. So making sure that you're really thinking about not a position of people, not what your position is and why they're at the table, but what value they might bring to the table, what perspective they might have. Okay. And your residents. So what about your residents? Don't forget to include their voices in the conversation, especially as you're getting back to more kind of consistent flow of what your organization, your community is doing. Include residents in the conversation and make sure they have a voice at the table as well. Okay. All right. I'm just going to check the chat because I see some coming in. And all right, I'm having a hard time multitasking. I'll check the chat in a minute.
Laura Ellen, it's Pam. I'm just gonna say that some of the slides are not showing to the viewers, and we will send out a slide deck to everybody, but I don't know if there's something on your end that maybe just a little glitch.
What are people seeing?
We see back to basics, but it's cut off.
Huh. I don't know. Let me stop sharing for a second.
Are you in?
I know it's not an ideal, but can people see this better?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just keep it out of slideshow view. It's not the prettiest, but it'll be the most effective for right now. Sorry about that, but we'll definitely send out this slide deck. All right. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to move on to lessons learned. So lessons learned during the pandemic, everybody has them, right? And when I was thinking about this, I kind of put them into 3 different categories in my mind of lessons learned that really resonated with me with the Arbor Company. So the first one is the environment. So this connects back to what we talked about in terms of retraining our brain, right? That's one of the strategies for adults to retrain their brain when that's needed, is thinking about the environment. How is the environment set up for what the outcome we want, right? So that's the exact same thing for our communities, for the people that we serve. How is the environment set up? What we experience at the Arbor Company is, while limiting guests and families and other visitors was extremely hard and isolating for our residents and for us as staff, it really did some amazing things in terms of removing some of the distractions for our residents, right? So the Arbor Company experienced some reductions in agitation, stress reactions. We sometimes, for some communities, they found it a little bit easier for the flow of the day or to help redirect residents when we were needing to keep people kind of separated. So I really connect that back to the environment is so important for our elders to be able to process and connect. So as things are opening up, as our neighborhoods are getting more of that busy buzz, which is also good at times, really thinking about how can we set up the best environment for the people that we serve so they can be the most successful, okay? The other one is approach, right? So we all know that approach matters. It's how we make good first impressions. It's how we connect with people. But what we learned during this time was we had to offer engagement and meal service and a lot of different things in a lot of different ways, different approaches, right? So you had your hallway carts where you were going down the hallway and that's how you did happy hour. Maybe you had people come out and do a grab and go. There are a lot of different ways that people took approaches to keep life going in the community. And I think what we noticed during that time, at least at Arbor, as I think back, is we actually saw participation increasing for our residents versus decreasing. And we were using, a participation tracking system. So we had data to really show that for us. And it was interesting. And we really connected it back to having a lot of different approaches. Sometimes residents maybe that were more introverted didn't come to the happy hour, but they really love to engage in that one-on-one hallway part visit, right? Or maybe someone that didn't normally come to exercise all of a sudden started coming to the hallway exercise because it was close to their room and they felt more comfortable. So I say that to say, think about how we can continue to offer different approaches and opportunities. Gone are the days of the come one, come all, right? So keep the creativity alive, keep thinking about how can we connect to the individual, right? That really goes back to that person-centered care philosophy as well. And the last one is technology, right? The big word that everybody talks about. Technology is such a great supporter of goals. But what I'm a believer in is it isn't a goal in of itself, right? So having technology for the sake of saying you have the latest and greatest thing is not a good strategy. You're going to waste a lot of time. You're going to waste a lot of money. It has to be linked to purpose. And I really think that's what we found during this time is we had a challenge and we used technology for a challenge for a purpose that we had. So I really encourage you to think about technology and how it's going to help you solve your problems. Think about how it helped us solve some of the problems during this last year or so. Window visits, distance engagement, room service. We use technology to help us do that in some ways. So make technology work for you and not the other way around, right? Think about, is there technology that can support this purpose that we have, this goal that we have, right? There's no easy or cheap button when it comes to technology. So I really encourage people to choose wisely. All right. So those are foundations for growth, a couple of ideas around how to get back to basics. Keeping back to basics of some core things that we might have learned during this time that might can help. And so again, what I encourage you to do is build upon the foundation, lay down some foundation, grow a little bit, lay down some more foundation, grow a little bit more. Rome was not built in a day, right? Everybody knows that saying. So really think about how can you take those deep breaths? How can you self-regulate a little bit as we're all kind of scrambling to go into this next phase and still not knowing, there's still uncertainty, but we do have more information and we do have a little bit more time for what we know now. So thinking about gathering your teams, really setting down some core foundation, getting back to some of your basics, adding in some new things that are going to help with those basics and help you set that foundation. My last thoughts here is that it is climbing a hill. So think about that, right? It's not a race. Sometimes it feels like that, but it is not a race. What we should have learned through all of this time of the last 18 months to 2 years is that we are all in this together, right? So climb a little, carve out a plateau that you can rest, go jump on someone else's plateau that can help you take a rest, and then keep climbing. But we are really all in this together and for one purpose, right? And it's for people. We're all in this industry because we care deeply about people. That's each other. It's the people that we're serving. So I love this quote. I found it getting ready for this conversation of coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. So I wish you all much success in the coming times. I am here for you. AGE-u-cate is here for you. And I am incredibly happy to be with this organization and connect with new faces, which I know a lot of you probably are on this call today. So I'm going to stop sharing.
That was great. That was great. I want to encourage anyone out there to chat in any questions for Laura Ellen, so I'll take a look at these. I think just, if I took many notes as you were talking, even though I already knew what you were going to talk about, but you even brought up some new things, but that rapid fire decision making that we do in times of trauma and times of fear, that really, to retrain our brains has to be a really intentional journey.
Right.
And I think as leaders, we play a big part in that, because we don't realize how much those who are on the front lines of care, how much they were affected by this. And so that retraining, it's not going to happen tomorrow. Like you said, it's not going to happen, because we're still in it at some level. We're still in this pandemic. And, so I think stepping back is something I think we've all learned to do, no matter what organization we are in. We've had to step back and think about things. At the same time, we are still firing with some of that trauma-induced thinking.
That's right. That's right. And I think, we have to, now is the time, right, to come together as a whole community and continue to have these conversations, whether that's a community at large, like we're gathered here today, or if it's your individual community. But bringing in more people to the conversation is going to be so important for people to move forward. And like you said, not only help us think about that for ourselves as leaders, but how are you thinking about supporting your staff who have gone through the exact same experience? They're not immune, right, to what we're talking about for ourselves. So what you're feeling, you can guarantee your staff is feeling as well. So how are we coming together? And residents are feeling that as well. So our seniors are feeling it.
Yeah, I agree. And coming together as leaders, who none of us have the answers. Some of us have tried things that have worked really well in our space, and we can share that with others, and it's just the way we all get better at what we do. And I think if anything, like I had mentioned before, just be open to collaboration, be open to new ideas, think outside the box, and be bold, but intentional. In what we want to try to do. And yeah, anybody else have any questions before I give you a little sneak peek into next month? We're going to be doing, continuing to do a lot of talking on the virtual road trip in this, certainly leadership. We feel like that's just talking to leaders, giving you ideas and things to think about, but really following this theme of back to basics, which we as a team have talked long and hard about over the past months, of what we're doing with our programming, thanks to so much input that we get from our wonderful partner providers and other collaborators that give us input that allows us to dig deeper with our programs and add to and enrich them so that it meets the needs of what, the changing environment that we're in. And I think we just need to learn to be fluid and adaptable, if anything, that all of us have learned. Hopefully is that and a whole lot of dose of resilience, right? So Laura Ellen, I don't see any other questions that I see in the chat box. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce or give you a little teaser for next month, which is going to be October 20th. So we hope you all put that on your calendar. We'll be getting out some information very soon, but we're going to have as our guest speaker, we are very honored to have Stacy Palmer. She's the Senior VP and COO at the Barrel Institute, a highly regarded organization whose purpose is to change healthcare by advancing an unwavering commitment to the human experience. Stacy is going to be highlighting some of the reports from their recently published white paper elevating the human experience in senior living communities. So there's going to be a lot of great information. We are really excited to have Stacy join us and to be able to share some of their findings from their research. So please put that on your calendar. Please reach out to Laura Ellen. She gave you all her email if you have any questions about how we can help you. And I'll just say, go make it a great day, make a difference, and we will see you again in October, if not before. So thank you again, Laura Ellen, and welcome.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.